Hi, Gordon. Another set of essays from you. Great to see it. So let's see what you did here with this map. Okay. Let's take a look. All right, so the map illustrates the tremendous change of an island from a remote area to a developed city. The decades witnessed the construction of new facilities. The decades. We don't really know that, so careful with this term, all right? We don't know for sure that it was decades. It could have been in a year, all right? So be careful. So, the decades witnessed the construction of new facilities. The trees in the northern, west, and southern island were deforested and replaced by living houses. Besides, surrounded by living areas, a newly built mall situates in the middle of the island. Next to the mall, there is a restaurant between the mall and the houses in the east. A hospital is on the either side of the mall. At the far east, an artificial lake is constructed, flowing with the water from the sea. In particular, the trees in the northern part and beach in the far west remain. Okay, now the first problem that I have with this is that you've made no mention of what the island looked like before construction. You went straight into the after picture. I think it is absolutely worthwhile to discuss the before map. You can just say what it has, what it doesn't have. You can use that scale here to talk about maybe the size of the island. All right. You can mention that there were trees, there was a beach, and so forth. And then you can go into how the island has changed after construction. So, I wouldn't again say the decades witnessed. I would say instead that the after map shows the island after the construction of new facilities. Now, I want to go through this sentence by sentence again because some of it was a little strange. The trees in the northwest, not northern west, we say northwest. You can't say southern island. You'd have to say southern portion or southern part of the island. So the trees in the northwest, that's here, and south. Where are there trees in the south of the island? Do you mean these over here? Maybe that's what you mean. Let's see. Okay, we're deforested and replaced by houses. Okay, that's true. I would have liked a little more information about those houses. Okay, what else did you say? Besides, I don't like this expression at all. Besides doesn't belong here. You could have said additionally, in between, and we don't call them living houses. We call them homes. We call them accommodation, but definitely not living houses. That's not a word we use. So, additionally, in between the housing complexes, a newly built mall is in or has been built in the middle of the island. Next to the mall, there is a restaurant. That's true. Next to the mall, there is a restaurant. Yeah. And I would have gotten rid of this. I don't like this. And it's not a hospital. It's a hotel. A hotel is... This whole thing here is really awkward, okay? So check it out. This whole section here, I'm having a really hard time with it. You can even tell from, the way I'm trying to correct it. So you could say that between the two housing complexes, a number of facilities were built. Specifically, a restaurant was built in the north part of the island. Centrally located, there is now a mall. And further to the south of the mall is a hotel. Okay? At the far east, right, an artificial lake is constructed with the water from the sea. In particular, I don't understand this either in particular. I would get rid of that, and I would just keep the trees in the northern part and the beach in the far west remain. So, you know what's going on? It just feels kind of haphazard here. I mean, I understand that you decided to talk about the houses together, but it all kind of feels very jumpy. Okay? So maybe a better way to do this would have been to go from west to east. Okay? rather than starting off with the houses and then the north and the south and the east. It just gets very confusing, so it's hard to kind of visualize it with all this happening. All right, so let's see what else you wrote. On top of new buildings, the island is developed in terms of transportation. The most significant change is a new pier in the south of the island. All right, now another thing you've been doing here a lot is you've been missing a lot of opportunities for cohesion. Look at this, the pier, the pier. So use some devices that will help make this more cohesive. All right, let's try it again. The most significant change is a new pier in the south of the island. This is connected to the Central Mall by a vehicle track, and it is also easily accessible to the restaurant and hospital. No. So this is connected to the Central Mall by a vehicle track, which also provides access to the restaurant and hospital. Okay, so do you see how I'm trying to help you not repeat the same words over and over? There are some grammatical and there's some lexical ways to do this. And so that's what I want you to work on a little. Okay, alternatively, one can walk through the 50-meter footpath which separates the accommodation area in the west to reach the beach. The footpath is also accessible to the restaurant and hospital. However, the walk lane from the Central Mall to the south of the living areas has still not yet been developed. All right, then I don't know why you would even mention it. Don't even mention it, okay? I thought that there were some more footpaths around the homes, weren't there? Did you say that? Okay, you said that. Fine. You said the west. What about in the east? Let me just double check. Yeah, there's another footpath here. If I'm not mistaken, it doesn't look like that's just a vehicle path. At least not as far as I can tell. It looks like it's a footpath as well. So you could have mentioned that one since you were going into that. So, cohesion is something you have to work on a little bit here. That's primarily the big thing for me. You missed a lot of opportunities to do that. And also I thought you should have spent some time actually covering this. There's a reason why it's there, okay? So they want you to provide this comparison, but you didn't talk about this at all. All right, let's take a look at your task 2. Okay, so now we're going to go into green energy. Let's see what you said here. The majority of electricity is mostly derived from petroleum, coal, and natural gas, which are non-renewable energy sources. All right, this seems like a kind of sudden way to go into this essay, so maybe you could have given us some sort of context as to why we're talking about this. Maybe even just like some sort of reference to our contemporary world, our modern day life, something. Okay, so that's kind of missing for me here. So the majority of electricity used in the modern world is mostly derived from petroleum, coal, and natural gas, which are non-renewable energy sources. With the ever-increasing demands of electricity followed by the growing global population, there is an urgent need to invest in other derivatives of energy sources. This is awkward, derivatives of energy sources, since the hydrocarbon deposits will be used up in the foreseeable future. Among the alternatives, renewable energy is one of the ways suggested by scientists and environmentalists. This essay will examine the pros and cons of adopting green energy in terms of cost, consequences, and other sustainability. Not other, get rid of other. Cost, consequences, and sustainability, okay? So, let's see. It is the least pollution generated. That's awkward. Let's see. What are you trying to say here? So it's I know what you're trying to say. You're trying to say basically that the fact that it does not pollute is what makes it popular, right? You just need to find a better way of saying that, because this particular way is a little awkward. So, that's one way you could have said it. The fact that renewable energy sources pollute the environment much less than traditional sources of energy has led to its popularity. Okay. Hold on, I lost this. Okay, good. Tidal power, hydroelectric power, and solar energy, to name but just a few, suggest, get rid of that S, the clean and inexhaustible natures of the green energy. They do? Why? How? I don't understand that. Relying solely on natural phenomena, carbon-neutral fuel does not produce noxious gases, such as exhaust fumes, nitrogen oxides, and sulfur dioxide, as burning hydrocarbons does. Hence, it is a costless means to generate electricity, as fuels are naturally replenished and freely obtained. Okay, so, you're telling me here that they are not expensive and they are non-polluting to the environment. It's just really underdeveloped. It's like you haven't really followed the template. You haven't provided support for your ideas. You've simply said that these names imply that they are clean and inexhaustible. Okay, well, go into detail about it. Here you tell me that they do not produce noxious gases. Okay, but what about it being free? I mean, why should we assume that these gases, that these energy sources are free? I mean, you have to have some way to collect them, don't you? So that's not free. You need some sort of machinery. You need someone to collect and store it. Those things aren't free. So I don't really understand this paragraph. It feels a little underdeveloped. If you want to tell us that they are free, then you have to support it and you have to go into detail. All right, and you didn't do that. Let's move on to the next paragraph. Flawless as green energy seems, get rid of this the. Non-renewable energy is not a reliable and favorable option in my opinion. On the one hand, the extremely low cost of the production process inevitably builds on the soaring initial cost for the specific sites and machines, which counts for approximately 3 times the cost, get rid of extracting and burning. What? Which counts for approximately 3 times the cost of extracting and burning hydrocarbons. Get rid of this of. Such an enormous price denies extensive use of the energy supply. On the other hand, some energy sources cast a catastrophic threat to the environment. For example, the Chernobyl accident spread the nuclear contamination, get rid of the, and hundreds of thousands of citizens were forced to evacuate to prevent from the overdose of the nuclear radiation. I don't understand this. What do you mean the overdose? The long-term damage to people and community suggests the insecurity of the use of such unreliable and unpredictable energy sources. Okay, nuclear power is not considered green energy. All right, it's this kind of category of its own, but it's not considered green energy, so you shouldn't lump it together with other green sources of energy. You were on the right track when you talked about tidal power, hydroelectric, and solar energy, but nuclear energy doesn't fall in this category, okay? So to conclude, for the low cost effectiveness and high potential risks, it is firmly believed that green energy is still not the option at this stage. However, with the progressing technological growth, it is foreseeable that the trend of selecting sustainable energy sources will blossom. That's a better way to say it. I liked a lot of this. You had a lot of nice elements. It was well written in a lot of respects, but as I mentioned, your first body paragraph was really underdeveloped. You can even tell just by looking at the length. Look at the difference in the length here. This goes into the 7th line, and this is like, at least 3 or 4 lines longer. It was definitely more developed, even though your example about Chernobyl was incorrect. It was more developed. You were certainly missing some elements here. Let's see. Another thing that I want to talk about is what we mean by energy security. Energy security is when we talk about the availability of the sources to cover the demand at a low cost. So you talked about this issue of the low cost, but you didn't talk about the availability of these fuels to meet the demand. And that's what you should have been talking about here, rather than this whole thing about Chernobyl, okay? So it's a it's good in a lot of ways, but there were still some issues. If I'm not mistaken, this is your last set with us. I would like to see more work from you. I would like to see you applying some of the things that we're talking about today, and potentially getting some more essays with us. There are other packages that you can sign up for so that you can continue working with us and getting feedback. So if that's something that you can do, I definitely encourage you to do so, because I think we can still make improvements with your writing so that you can get the score you need. See if that's something you can do. I'm looking forward to seeing more of your work. Best of luck to you.